you. How long have we known each other? Excuse me.
I think probably 7 years now.
7 years, right? And
Yeah.
then you started in 21 as a loan officer. You
Yes,
were
as an LOA in 2018.
2018. So you were on Michael's team. You graduated to loan officer, and then you've been on these Friday calls that we've done, and you basically had your. When was your epiphany with Smart Start and just having that moment where you were like, "Hey, I know I need to stick to something." Tell us about that.
Well, it started with shadowing and watching Michael and his success because I was his LOA and he's very consistent on that. When I went on my own, I, was a little intimidated to do Smart Starts on my own because I felt like I'm a new loan officer. I kind of felt like I didn't completely know what I was doing. And so I feel like I wasn't as consistent in the beginning. But the epiphany was the difference in how many loans I was closing. I mean, really, it's the business. When you have a Smart Start and you really take the time to get to know your client, to provide some value to them, it increases the value not just to them but also to their realtor, and it builds both the connection to the client, but most importantly the connection to that referral partner, to your agent, because it sets you apart from other lenders.
So when you said you were afraid, you'd watched Michael do it, what do you mean by afraid?
Well, Michael's a pro. He's been doing this for a long time and it's so effortless. And I had to take a lot of notes but at the end of the day, even if you're a new loan officer, you're still an expert because most of the clients that are doing a Smart Start meeting are first time home buyers and they know nothing about the home buying process. All they know is what they've heard from their friends or their family or some Instagram account, right? So at the end of the day, it was just a confidence thing. I had to be confident in myself and know that even as a new loan officer, I knew more than they did about getting approved for their first home. And now, years in, of course, I'm much more confident. But in the beginning, yes, I just felt like I was new and I didn't feel like the expert. But at the end of the day, you are the expert.
What percentage of your Smart Starts are on Zoom versus face to face?
I would, but pre-COVID, it was all face to face. And then now with COVID, I would say probably 60% face to face and 40% Zoom. I still try to push for the in-person meeting, specifically with first time home buyers. Because you wouldn't do any other transaction over Zoom or the phone. If you're buying a vehicle or, doing another major transaction, you would do it in person. So I really push for that unless, if a client is out of state, or I have some clients that, work evenings, work night shifts and they can't come during the morning or, so we have to work around their schedule. But for the most part, I would say 60-40.
So with your rhythm, and you've been on these Friday sales calls, we always talk about the setup in the initial call, the triangle. How do you know the realtor? Well, here's how I met the realtor. What did they say about how I've helped their clients? Did they tell you about my process? And then that gives you that frame to then say, okay, well, hey, so do you send over the initial Smart Start outline email? How do you do that to set up the meeting?
So I set up the meeting with the first step is a mortgage consultation. That's kind of what I call it. And so I have my realtor say, hey, the very first step is let me set you up with a 10-minute mortgage consultation with my lender, with my preferred lender. So that's the intro call.
Nice.
So that's where I do and I have a Calendly account that my realtors have access to. So they can actually go ahead and schedule it right on my calendar.
Yeah, I saw that on my phone. It's really cool.
Yep. And it gives them a little reminder text and says, hey, your mortgage consultation
your meeting is scheduled. It's pretty cool.
Yes. So the first step is the mortgage consultation. In that meeting, I time myself. So I'm a talker. And one of the challenges I did was to set a timer. So now I don't have to do it as much, but I set a timer for 10 minutes. I make that call a 10-minute intro call. I'm not diving deep into I'm not diving deep into their income or their credit. I just go into, how do you know your realtor? What do they have to say about me and our process? And then I just explain the process. The process is I'm going to send you a link to our loan application. I send it right then and there, and then they confirm that they've received it. So I send it over either text or email, whatever their preference is. And then I say, did you receive it? Because I want to make sure it didn't go to spam or that they have it.
So you're doing it right there. I'm throwing this line out. Did you see the hook come across? Perfect.
Exactly. Yep.
I
So
love
I'd
that.
send them the loan application, and then I'd kind of tell them the process. Hey, it's going to take you 15 or 20 minutes to complete it. When it's completed, it's going to ask you for some supporting documents, about your income and your assets. And then I said the next step is to schedule a Smart Start meeting. So once that application is complete, that's when I'll have your information, and that's how I can tell you what loan programs you qualify for and what options are available to you. And we can't do that in a 10-minute phone call. So
Right.
I'll tell them after this call is over, I'm going to send you a link to my calendar. We can go ahead and schedule that Smart Start meeting. And on my calendar, they have a virtual or an in-person option.
Got it.
Yep.
So you're giving them that option.
I am. I mean, typically I tell them, in person, unless they get pushback and they say,
Yeah.
I can't do in person, then I'll say, hey, I'll give you a virtual, but I can send them just the in-person option.
Right. Okay.
Through my calendar link. Yeah.
So real quick, just the technical part. When they in person, you're doing the all about you form in the office. I don't know if the Atlanta office has a welcome sign.
We do. We print it with their
Office.
name.
So you're kind of using your unfair advantage of an office with a welcome sign. The all about, ooh, my light went off. Here, let me. Here we go.
There you go.
So the bottom line is they're in your lobby. You have your templated version of the Smart Start, whether it's for first time buyer or move up buyer. They fill out the all about you,
Right.
all the questions. And that's the curiosity part where I think, in person, when they're filling it out and then you're sitting down, it's literally like the first 10 minutes, you can just go through the all about you. Hey, it looks like you want to learn all this stuff. It looks like here's the stuff that's important to you about your money. Hey, here's what's important to you about working with a lender. Hey, here's all the fun stuff. Great, let's get started. And that rhythm, you've done enough of these, can take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It can really go. You can really go deep on just that stuff. And honestly, the client is sold on you because your office looks nice. You look professional. You're going through this pageantry, but it's literally it's all the steps that they feel comfortable before you've even shown them any damn numbers, right?
Right. Yeah.
This is before, hey, this is Gloricel. I'll pre-qual you after you fill out the link. I'll send you your loan approval, and I'll tell the realtor you're good to go.
Right.
It
helps, establish not just, it establishes the fact that you care about them as a client and what's best for them. They really feel like this person's getting to know me, and this person's going to, it establishes you as the expert of saying, hey, I'm going to provide you with the best loan programs that are available to you because I've gotten all of your information. If somebody's just, shouting out an interest rate and a payment, then without asking any questions, and they're not, maybe that's not the best loan program for them. Right. How would they know? Yeah.
Well, and I do think you've done this buffer of that initial phone call to be set by the realtor, so where you can ask the questions, and then ultimately you might get pushback. It might be to the point where they're like, hey, I just called to get a rate. And you're like, well, hey, you're a first-time home buyer. You were recommended by this realtor. Our process, if she didn't tell you, I'll tell you now. It's very helpful. I would recommend it. Me quoting rates over the phone right now, or you filling out a credit report and just getting an estimate, is not how I'm helpful to my clients.
Right.
Let me send you the outline of Smart Start so we can go through it. It's that whole thing that Phil Jones talks about. Slow down the process to speed up the execution. Yeah, so when you slow your client down and can teach them the things and ask the real questions and get body language and get eye contact, then all of a sudden real communication is happening so that they feel comfortable executing. Because we've all had the hurry up deal. You do everything you're supposed to do over the phone. Client makes offer. They might even get it accepted. And then they're out on inspection. They're nervous. Like it happened too fast. So we sped everything up on the front end, and the execution actually slowed down because they felt rushed.
Right.
Right. So I guess last little piece, face-to-face, Zoom meeting. Zoom's a little, you get a little less impact, right?
Yes. I mean, the one thing that I will say for Zoom meetings is a lot of times with the client's permission, I'll have the realtor hop on. So I will
tweak.
Yep. So I will start the meeting with the borrower, go over their, all about you, go over their income and their credit, the personal stuff. And then I'll say,
you're sending the digital version, they save it and send it back to you?
Yes, it's a fillable PDF. Yep. And
Okay.
I remind them, hey, I haven't gotten your all about you yet. We have our meeting scheduled tomorrow. I'll shoot an email out to them to make sure I get it back. So a lot of times I'll do that all about you. I'll go over, their income and credit, the kind of the personal information. And then I'll say, hey, is it okay if your agent hops on? And I'll have the realtor hop on the second half of that call for the last 30 minutes. And then all three of us go over, go over the mortgage scale. This is what these payments look like. This is the price points.
And that's such a great little tweak.
Yeah. And it, number one, really solidifies your relationship with the agent. But two, it shows that, and I tell buyers this all the time, it is not enough in this market to get pre-approved. Your offer has to get accepted. And I'm in the Atlanta market. There are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 offers on every home. Even right now, it's still very competitive. And so my realtors really push that Smart Start meeting, specifically the pre-underwrite piece, because they know that they're going to have a difficult time getting their client under contract without removing a financing contingency or without getting them fully underwritten. So the realtors really push it just as much as I do. So it makes my job a little easier when the realtor's on board, when you're on the same page.
Gloricel, that's an awesome tweak to make the Zoom meeting that much more personal and tie in, because I didn't even ever think that. I always thought, hey, bring the realtor in after the client commits, and then you have this regroup first offer strategy. Let's all get on a phone call. But if we had another realtor, pretend you were the client and they were here on the screen, just such a great tie-in. I'll say this, it's been a joy to watch you grow, and even like watching your skill set increase to where you're making your own judgments on, hey, this will work for me, and watching that has been awesome. And your honesty around, like we were just talking, 2 weeks ago, about collecting that deposit and how that can be a stigma. And it's like, and I was talking to Michael about it. And, we all get in an interesting little rut where here's our process. We know how to execute it. We know when it works perfectly. And then we get that next lead. And for whatever reason, or that next referral, we like skip a step, and then something happens where the end of it's a little wonky, and then we're not sure what to do. So story, when you brought all that up, Andy in my office he'd been out of it. He just had his first child. He has this awesome Smart Start yesterday, calls me all excited. He goes, dude, these people ate it up. It was a Zoom call. They were in California. And I just said, hey, the next step is we'll do your full disclosures. We'll send you, we'll collect a deposit fee that'll be applied, and then you'll be fully underwritten so that your offer you'll have a 50% higher likelihood of your offer being accepted. And he didn't even say anything else. Like, would you be against that? By the way, they had like 600,000 in an investment account. You know what I mean? It's like, why would you even ask? Now, if you have a client with 15,000 and you're collecting a $495 deposit, oh, well, they still told you they want to buy a home. It's exactly what you said earlier. Why would anybody doing such a big thing not want to meet?
Exactly. Yeah. Especially on their first purchase. Yeah.
Right. So thanks again. I think that, is there any final little thought that you think of that would be a good nugget for someone who maybe is just starting out, they've seen this, or someone who's been doing it a long time but frustrated? What would be your last little parting shot?
I would just say be consistent and get your realtors on board. If your realtor mentions the Smart Start meeting first and says, hey, I want you to talk to my preferred lender because they have a really great process of getting you pre-approved. It's called the Smart Start meeting. Ask them about it. They'll tell you. That makes the process so much smoother and easier, because when your agent is on board, and your agent is on board because they don't want a financing contingency. They want their offer accepted the first time, because they don't have time to be driving these clients around town for 8 months trying to find them a house or trying to get them under contract. So I would say, talk to your agents, sell your agents on the Smart Start first, and they'll sell their clients on the Smart Start. And then it makes your job a lot easier because you're not selling it. It's kind of sold for you.
Have you brought a newer agent into your office and walked them through Smart Start? And
I have done that. Yep.
And
I have done that.
Filled out, they've seen the welcome sign, done the all about you, and you're like, hey, this is what I do for a client.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I just
You're
say, hey,
awesome.
come go through the experience and see what your client, come to the office and see what your client is going to experience when you send them to us as a preferred lender. And then I go through the whole thing. And they're always blown away because no other lenders take the time to do it.
Right.
They're moving on to the next. So,
Right. And they want it done over the phone, quick, right? Awesome.
Right.
Thank you. We're on today's Thursday. We'll be on the call tomorrow. So
tomorrow.
thanks.
Yeah.
You're
All
the
right.
best.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Let's see if I can stop the recording now. How do I go in?
You're still recording.
Is it say still recording? Stop recording. Okay. So now stop recording. Stop.